The soccer team has come to a thrilling end.
And basketball has just begun. All this and more coming up right here on the Penguin Rundown. Welcome in everyone here to the Penguin Rundown. I'm Bryce Noel alongside my co-host here, Elizabeth Koss. And Elizabeth, what a time to be alive for YSU Athletics. You know, seasons are just beginning. Well, seasons are coming to a close. Would you like to touch up on that a little bit?
We're seeing the soccer team, they've wrapped up their season finally, and basketball is just starting to tip off. But the football team really is carrying that hot season streak. Bryce?
Yeah, absolutely. This past 4 weeks, you know, just on a roll with offense and defense just rolling on. As for the second time in 3 weeks, the football team pulled off a miraculous comeback victory as they scored in the final 10 seconds to defeat Illinois State 19-17. On a very windy afternoon out in Hancock Stadium, Illinois would score on their first play with a 42-yard touchdown on the ground to make it 7-0 Redbirds. Penguins quarterback junior Mitch Davidson, however, would lead YSU on an 8-play, 75-yard drive, which would end in him running it into the end zone from 2 yards out to tie the game up at 7. Davidson went 10 for 19 on the day for 143 yards and a touchdown. After both teams exchanged field goals, the Redbirds would take advantage of a muff punt by YSU as they once again took it to the end zone, this time from 1 yard out. YSU would next march down the field as kicker Colt McFadden booted a 48-yard field goal to bring it to 17-13 at the half. With just over 2 minutes to go in the game and the score still 17-13, YSU's defense would force a Redbird punt as they set the offense up for one last chance. The Penguins drove down to the Redbird 12-yard line with 10 seconds to go, and Davidson would find junior Bryce Oliver in the left corner of the end zone for the go-ahead score. The defense then forced a Redbird fumble on the way to seal the victory. The football team has now won 4 straight as they improved to 6-3 overall and 4-2 the MVFC. They will continue to help keep their playoff hopes alive as they will finish their road slate this Saturday at Missouri State. Kickoff is set for 3 p.m., and you can listen to the game on 570 WKBN or stream on ESPN3.
After 237 days, the women's basketball team returned to the court to tip off its 2022-23 season, defeating Wofford College 81-72. The Penguins never trailed in the game, scoring in the first 14 seconds and maintaining the lead the entire contest. It was also a physical contest with 46 fouls being called between both teams. 4 of the 5 starters for Youngstown State scored in the double figures, with fifth-year senior Lily Ritz leading the way with a 2020 performance on 27 points and 20 rebounds. She scored 11 points from her 19 trips to the free throw line. Senior Paige Shy was the second on the team with 16 points, shooting 5 of 8 from the field and 3 of 6 from the three-point. She also led the team with 4 assists and added 4 rebounds. Junior Malia Madrastro and sixth-year senior Megan Callahan were the other players in the double figures, finishing with 12 and 11 points. The Penguins had a strong defense in the first half, holding Wofford to 24 points on 20.7% shooting. After making 43.2% of their shots from the field after 2 quarters, the women's entered halftime with a 37-24 lead. Both teams were evenly matched in the third quarter and went into the fourth with a score of 59-48, but Wofford managed to claw back in the last period to make the score 73-72, with just under 2 minutes left. The Penguins scored their final 8 points off free throws, and the score ended 81-72. Head coach John Barnes says the battle in the second half became a learning experience for the team.
And then for the first 5 possessions, we turned it over, and the lead went from 12 or 13 to 3. Now they have a lot of confidence, making shots, scoring baskets, feeling good, and now it's a game. You know, we had to battle the rest of the way to get the win, but I think it was a good learning experience for our team.
Aside from the starters' outstanding performances, Shy reflected on the depth of the team's bench and their impact on the game.
Our bench is so deep this year, so I feel like they did a great job too, being locked in from the bench, and when they got called to go in, they did a great job. There was no fall off, nothing. They really stepped up too.
The women's basketball team will have a week off before taking on a Big Ten opponent in Penn State on the road November 15th at 7 p.m. You can listen to the game on 570 WKBN.
Like the women's team, the men's team also came out with the victory in their opening game on the road against Canisius. The Penguins' offense was hot from the start as the men went on a 33-3 run to finish the first half. This included shooting 70% from the field and 50% from the arc. Graduate student and transfer from Canisius, Malik Green produced a double-double with 21 points and 12 rebounds, while graduate student Adrian Nelson and senior Brandon Rush each posted 16 points. Senior Dwayne Cohill followed right behind with 15 points and adding 6 rebounds. Also including senior Dwayne Cohill, 4 different Penguins scored in double digits. Not only was the offense performing impressive, but the defense rounded 48 rebounds compared to Canisius' 26. The closest the Golden Griffins came to the Penguins was with 4 minutes remaining with a 12-point difference. But the Penguins would then score 9 straight points, extending the lead to a comfortable 21. The final score came in YSU's favor, 92-81. The men will play in their home opener tonight against UT Martin at 7 p.m. in the Beagley Center. This game can be watched on ESPN Plus or listen on 570 WKBN. Now with more on both basketball teams, we're going to send things over to Kyle and Cameron here at the Roundtable.
Welcome into the Roundtable. Kyle Willis here alongside Cameron Stubbs, and we're going to be talking about the basketball teams as both teams were able to tip off their season this past Monday as the women took on Wofford while the men took on Canisius College. And Cam, both teams were able to come out with victories as the women came out with an 81-72 victory while the men came out with a 92-81 victory over Canisius. And, starting off with the men, what were some of the things that really impressed you in their opening matchup against Canisius?
Well, against Canisius, the first thing that stands out is the first half by our transfer student, Malik Green. He is a Canisius transfer, and he got 19 points in the first half and finished with 21 points total, along with 12 rebounds. And alongside him, another transfer, Brandon Rush, had 10 points in the first half and finished with 16. The transfer students all just had a good game, especially that first half. It was nice to seeing Youngstown come out and just dominate like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned the amount of rebounds that both Malik and Nelson were able to get in the paint as Green had 12 rebounds and Nelson had 7. And that was one thing that the team was really going to have to replace coming into this year was the presence of Michael Akuche down low. And in the first game, it seems like that they've been able to find some players that can fill that void. And one of the voids that they were going to need to fill was from last year was having Garrett Covington absence because of only being able to play 3 games because of injury. However, he's now able to play again this season as he was in the starting lineup, playing 13 minutes, made the only shot that he took in the matchup. So what was some of the things that you were able to see that really impressed you from Covington's return?
Covington, it's really nice to see him back on the court. He knocked down his only 3 of the game, but his defensive presence is what YSU really needs. He made the All-Horizon League defensive team the past 3 seasons. So he really brings a stout, tough defense that they really need to just bolster that backcourt.
And another player that they're bringing back this year, he was voted as preseason All-Horizon League first team, and that's Dwayne Cohill. And he didn't disappoint last night as he had 15 points and a team-high 30 minutes. So what are some of the things that you were impressed in? Do you think that he was able to stick up to that name as being a preseason first team?
I definitely do. Cohill, he didn't knock down a 3 last night, but his 14 points per game last season is something that we'll see improve as he's a bucket getter. That's what he does. And he will continue to grow and just be a leader for this team this season.
And the men weren't the only basketball team that came out with a victory. Like I said earlier, the women's team came out victorious 81-72. And the women's team are kind of in a similar situation as the men. They got quite a few of core players returning, along with some transfer students to add on to last year. So looking at the women, how do you think some of these transfer students were able to do just like the men?
The transfer students, I thought they did pretty good on Monday night. But they do have a lot of high expectations as we were first in the preseason poll from the coaches. But the transfers like Shaylee Kirby and Dina Jaros and Emily Saunders, they all bring a different thing to this team. I think that it will all just mesh together and make a great defensive team.
And along with those transfer students, they had some players that were returning that were big factors last year, and one of them being Lily Ritz. And we mentioned Cohill being preseason All-Horizon League first team. Lily was also named preseason first team All-Horizon League, and she didn't disappoint last night. She had a 20-20 performance with 27 points and 20 rebounds. So that is probably the most impressive Lily Ritz that I've ever seen since she has came to Youngstown State. So how would you sum up her first game of the season to be able to be named not only preseason first team All-Horizon, but be able to have a 20-20 performance to start off the season?
Oh, Lily Ritz's 2020 game, that's something that hasn't happened at YSU in 9 years. So that is just absolutely remarkable. And last year she averaged 16.9 points per game and 9.5 rebounds. And she was an all-defensive team last year too. This is just something that is bound to happen, and we'll see more of this as the season goes on because she's built for this moment.
And one player that really complimented Ritz well was Paige Shy yesterday, or on Monday, as Shy had a 5 for 8 performance from the field, 3 of 6 from beyond the arc, and she was able to make 3 out of her 4 free throw attempts to have 16 points on the afternoon. So to be able to come out with the way that, to be able to shoot the ball like she has, because that's one of the things that she did well last year. She led the team in 3-point attempts just a year ago. So to be able to come in and be able to have this type of shooting performance, how big do you think it is for not only her, but for the team's confidence?
It's huge for her and the team's confidence, as those 16 points along with 4 assists, she was really just distributing. She shot 62.5% from the field also. So she just overall had a great offensive game for the team, and it just really boosted their confidence.
Well, Cam, I hope that all this confidence and all this momentum will move over into the rest of their schedule, as the men's team will be back in action tonight to take on Tennessee Martin, and the women's team will be back in action November 15th when they take on Penn State. That'll wrap it up for the roundtable. I'm Kyle Wills alongside Cameron Stubbs. We'll send it back to you guys.
Thanks, guys, and we're excited to see how those seasons go. But the soccer team advanced to the Horizon League Championship game for the first time in program history after knocking off the number 2 ranked Purdue University Fort Wayne 1-0 last Thursday in the conference semifinals. Against the Mastodons, senior Aubriana Rondon made a perfectly placed left footer in the bottom right corner of the goal to give the Penguins the lead and the eventual game winner. For the defense, junior Brooklyn Kirkpatrick recorded her 8th shutout and 9th victory of the season, as well as 8 saves. The Penguins' championship bout sadly came to a conclusion after a loss to the top-seeded Milwaukee last Friday 1-0. The lone score came from the 23:40 mark, but YSU could not collect an offensive effort to tie the game up. Thanks to their impressive performances, Kirkpatrick, Rondon, and freshman Taylor Berry were all named to the Horizon League All-Tournament team. Youngstown State, who was slated to finish 9th in the coaches' preseason poll, finished with a program best record of 9-8-3 and set a school record in Horizon League play at 5-3-2. Congratulations to the women's soccer team on their historical season.
The volleyball team continued their road winning streak as they took down Robert Morris this past week. Against the Colonials, the Penguins set records as the team won its 8th Horizon League match, the most ever by Youngstown State volleyball. And after breaking the single-season kill record of 513, sophomore Paula Gershing registered 31 kills in 70 attempts, which both were a record for a 4-set match. Senior Josie Borum acquired her 10th triple-double of the season with 11 kills, 24 assists, and 19 digs. Sophomore Isabel Schaaf-Bauer had a match-high 26 assists, and senior Isadora Sizik also had a match-high with 22 digs. The team season is winding down as there are only 2 matches left in this season, both at home in the Beagley Center, first against Northern Kentucky on Friday, and then against Wright State on Saturday. Keep track of both these matches on ESPN Plus and YSUSports.com.
The swim and dive team held their only home competition meet for the year, welcoming the Cleveland State Vikings. The Penguins were firing from all cylinders as the women's team defeated Cleveland State 199-94, and the men's team won 167-27, which marks the men's 3rd consecutive win on the season. The teams were working well as both the men's and women's took first place in the 200-yard medley relay. The women finished with a time of 1 minute and 49 seconds, and the men finished with a time of 1 minute and 31 seconds. Freshman Miriam Frass picked up 3 wins for the ladies in the 200, 500, and 1,000 yards freestyle. Sophomore Alewia Kaniak had 2 individual victories, earning wins on the 100 and 200-yard breaststroke. Freshman Anna Kaczynska, freshman Jordan Trilesh, and Allison Ramirez Romero, and sophomore Macy Wang all had their first individual wins as well. Graduate student Kayla Rassman took first in both the 1-meter and 3-meter dive. For the men, it was an impressive showing for sophomore Aleska Radenovic as he picked up 3 individual event wins on the day, including in the 100 and 200-meter butterfly, as well as the 200 IM. Freshman James Slesser had 2 victories in the 100 and 200-yard breaststroke. Junior Reyes Druga picked up the first place in the 50-yard freestyle. The men swept the diving competition with sophomore Simon Iwanokio winning in the 3-meter dive and freshman Brooks Adams winning in the 1-meter. The swim team will look to have a break this weekend, but will also stay hot as the dive team travels to the West Virginia Invite. The 3-day competition will begin on November 17th and end on the 19th.
And now it is time for this week's Penguin Player of the Week. We send it over to Katie Rogers-Vidala.
Thanks, guys. This week's Play of the Week comes from Dwayne Cohill, the men's basketball team, in their most previous win against Canisius. Let's see what he did. He's at the 3-point line. He goes right past his defender for the slam dunk. Let's take a look at it one more time. Look at the elevation he gets from off the ground. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like this is already a contender for Dunk in the Year, and that was from their first game of the season. Congratulations to Dwayne, and we're going to send it back to you guys.
Thanks, Katie. That'll just about wrap it up here at the Penguin Rundown. You can follow us here on both of our social medias at Instagram and Twitter at Penguin Rundown 1. And for live news, stats, scores, and more, you can check out YSUsports.com. I'm Bryce Noel.
And I'm Elizabeth Koss.
And as always, see you next week, Penguin Nation.